Hey, welcome to Strength Side Friday. We put out a video every Friday. Only place on the internet you'll find that, alright? So, we're going to talk about hip flexors today, okay? A lot of people feel like they have tight hip flexors, and we are going to go through some progressions of dealing with that, okay? Now, I think before we get into it, though, we have to establish what is tight hip flexors. Well, tight hip flexors will show themselves in full extension, okay? So at the top of a squat or at the top of a deadlift, you just basically won't be able to fully extend the hips, and you're going to be having to get that extension from your spine, which is very dangerous when you have weight on your back or you're holding weight, or if you're an athlete and every step you take, you're extending through the spine here, okay? Now, stretching the hip flexors isn't going to help you in the bottom of a squat. You know, it's not going to help open up your hips in most cases, okay? So if you're having trouble in the bottom of the squat, then you probably want to visit something else, internal rotation or external rotation. So now that we've established, you know, why we need to stretch these hip flexors, and maybe this is you can't get to full extension, let's talk about some hip flexor stretching that I sometimes, me and Trevor see this at the gym a lot, is people get into these hip flexor stretches and we just ended up seeing something like this, right? We're trying to open up these hip flexors. Let me do this angle. So I'm trying to open this up. Sometimes we get this going on, boom. And really all I'm doing is just reinforcing this bad position of extending at my spine, okay? So to really stretch the hip flexor here, remember that you shouldn't have that much extension in your hip, right? So we don't need to be here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves some type of fixture, okay? Get up against a pole, grab a foam roller, grab your training partner if you need to, and what we're going to do here is we're going to apply force to this fixture. Now that is going to turn on my abdominals here to make myself brace. Now right now, I'm getting a stretch in my hip flexor, okay? And as you can see, I'm not totally an extension here. I got a neutral spine, and I'm pretty much just at 180 degrees here, okay? And I'm able to sit in this. If you're sitting a lot of the time, this will help, you know? Try to down-regulate those hip flexors. Now let's be clear that we're probably not lengthening these muscles, okay? What we're doing is, like I said, we're down-regulating them. So once we down-regulate them, now we need to kind of reinforce that pattern, right? We need to claim this down regulation that we just got. So I stretch for maybe a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get down on the floor here, and we're gonna work on some hip extension from a very low intensity level exercise, okay? So I'm gonna do a single leg bridge, and I'm gonna pull this knee up here. Now what this is gonna do is it's gonna lock my pelvis into posterior tilt, so I can't extend at the spine here. Now if I was just to go do glute bridges, I can get this extension from my spine. Now here, as you can see, I'm not very high up off the ground here, but all this extension is coming from the hip. I can't overextend my spine in this position, okay? So now I'm here, boom, I'm activating the glute, and hopefully we're just claiming some of this extension here, and this hip flexor is relaxing through this drill, okay? So I'm gonna do, I don't know, 10, 20 of these. How many do you wanna do? Then we're gonna hop up into tall kneeling position here, okay? So what I like to do is I like to tell people, let's put the hands on the stomach. Let's make sure that we got some tension in the core here. We're going to hinge forward, right? So this is a tall kneeling hinge here. And then we're gonna come up, we're gonna squeeze our butt, and we're gonna get into extension here. Now this is gonna be, you know, if you're not careful, you will be able to extend your spine, right? So now we gotta pay a little bit more attention to this tension here and to getting extension through our hips, okay? Boom. So this is also a very good way to reinforce your hinge or your deadlift pattern, okay? I'm not getting movement at my spine, keeping a neutral spine, and I'm getting all the movement through my hinge here, okay? Last one we're gonna do, which is gonna be the most complex out of all the movements, is a back lunge, okay? So this is, like I said, this is a progression that we're working on. Can be something that you use to warm up with. And now maybe I'm getting ready to go, I'm getting ready to squat or something like that, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna, once again, prioritize bracing here, and I'm going to lunge back here, and now this hip is in full extension here, while this hip has to be activated to then lunge me back up, okay? So, let me show you another angle here. I'm here, boom, I'm gonna back lunge, full hip extension, back up, right? I'm making my hips work in this unilateral fashion to claim some more of this hip extension, okay? If you're doing this wrong, it's gonna look like this. Boom, getting extension from my spine. Now, it looks like my hip is extended, but don't be fooled, it's not, okay? Now, here, you get that neutral spine, boom, okay? Guys, this is a real easy progression, little warm-up / mobility drill that you can use. Maybe you sitting all day in the office, now you gotta come to the gym and do some squats or some deadlifts or something. Yes, let's try to down-regulate the hip flexors. Let's get a good warm-up in. Let's work on this mobility. Let's go out there, let's make gains, okay? Hey guys, it was nice talking to you today. I'll see you in the next video.